Hello dear students, today I am going to discuss a particular questions of your exercise 5.1. Chapter is continuity and this question is little bit different one and how to solve this particular questions. Question is, you see, discuss the continuity of the function f(x) is equal to what? Here is for x not equal to 0, it is defined as x square into sine 1 by x, and for x equal to 0 it is equal to 0. That means you have to discuss the continuity of the function at every point in its domain. First of all, you discuss what is the domain of the function. Domain, you see, this is the conditions. Under this condition, your domain is defined. For this is your x is equal to 0 and this part is not equal to 0 and this part is also not equal to 0. This is x greater than 0, this is x less than 0. So, combining all these things, less than 0, greater than 0 and equal to 0, the domain of the function is what? Set of real number. Domain of the function is set of real numbers. So, you have to discuss the continuity of this function at all, that is points in the domain, that means all real numbers. Okay. Now, before going to discuss this particular questions, I want to just share you a very small concept which you already know. We know that sine function is lying between -1 and 1. That means whatever be the value taking by sin x, sine of any angles between what? -1 and 1. That means -1 से 1 तक जितना number है, you have to take this all the numbers from -1 to what? 1. All the numbers are what? Like real numbers, and these are what? Finite and fixed number. So you can say that sin x is finite. Sin x is what? Finite. You can say that sin x is what? Finite. It may be 1, if it is equal to 1, finite, it is equal to -1 or 0 or anything, then it is a finite quantity. ठीक है? So let us take an arbitrary point. We start the solution of this particular question. Let C belongs to R be an arbitrary element. Arbitrary means any element, okay, any real number. So here what will happen? C belongs to R means C may be non-zero or C may be equal to 0. Okay. So there are two type of real numbers are given, one non-zero and another is what? 0. Understood? So for non-zero elements, if case 1 if C not equal to 0, C not equal to 0 होगा तो क्या होगा? We are going to take limit x tends to C f(x) equal to limit x tends to C. Since C not equal to 0 and x tends to C and C non-zero, so x is non-zero. Okay, very essential, you have to understand. C non-zero, x tends to C. X tends to C means x tends to C from left or right, and C is a number which is non-zero. तो लेफ्ट से जो अप्रोच होगा या राइट से जो अप्रोच होगा, तो एवरी एक्स विल बी नॉन जीरो. ओके, सो वी कैन कंसिडर सिंस C non-zero, so x is non-zero, and therefore for x non-zero, f(x) equal to x square into sine x square into sine 1 by x. Now you put the limit here. You put the limit and you will get c square sine 1 by c. We can put the limit because if x is non-zero, x tends to c and c is a non-zero quantity, so therefore x can be replaced by what? C. Otherwise it will be undefined. अगर c 0 हो जाए तो ये undefined हो जाएगा, and then what happen? You cannot substitute the limit. So this is c square sine 1 by c. But what is the functional value at c? Fc equal to what? C. Fc and c non-zero. When c non-zero, if you replace x by c non-zero, fc equal to c square into sine 1 by c. वहाँ से अगर c पुट करो, c non-zero होगा तो fc क्या होगा? c square into sine 1 by c. c square into c square. I'm sorry. Sine square. This is c square. Okay. C square into sine 1 by c. So from C, the limiting value is c square sine 1 by c. Functional value is what? C square sine 1 by c. From these two we can conclude that therefore we can write limit x tends to c fx equal to fc. Okay, limiting value and functional value are same, and which define that, which express that the function is continuous at x equal to what? C. Function at continuous at x equal to c. What is c? C is a non-zero real number. Okay, c is a non-zero real number. That means at all non-zero real number means less than 0 and greater than 0. This part and that part, the function is continuous. Therefore, you can write, therefore f is continuous at x is equal to c, which is non-zero. X is equal to c, which is non-zero. Now, this is the case 1. Let us discuss case 2. Now, when c equal to 0, what will happen? When c equal to 0, then in this particular case, how to check the continuity of the function at this particular point, c equal to 0. Since c equal to 0 is a particular point, so we are going to use the left hand limit, right hand limit and functional value. Okay, first we find left hand limit. Limit x tends to 0 means point is 0, so 0 minus fx. Now, very interesting is that x tends to 0 minus means x is what? Less than 0. X is what? Less than 0, and x is less than 0 means you can say x not equal to 0. X not equal to 0, for x not equal to 0, function is x square into sin x. So, ultimately this particular function is replaced by x square into sin 1 by x. Okay. Now, x tends to 0, x tends to 0 minus means x is less than 0, and therefore you can write x is equal to 0 minus h, where h is positive. Where h is positive, x tends to 0 implies h tends to 0. I hope you are understanding. This type of things we have repeatedly done in earlier questions also. Okay, so you can write limit x tends to 0 minus means you can take h tends to 0, and x can be replaced by minus h. So, minus h whole square into sin 1 by h, which is equal to limit h tends to 0, that is this is called what? H square. Okay, h square. You can separate the limit into limit h tends to 0 sin 1 by h. Okay, you know how to separate the limit. If there are function प्रोडक्ट में रहेगा, अगर फंक्शन प्रोडक्ट में रहेगा तो लिमिट को आप सेपरेट कर सकते हो. इसका लिमिटिंग अगर वैल्यू पुट करें तो इसका वैल्यू क्या होगा? दिस वैल्यू विल बी 0. ओके, दिस वैल्यू विल बी 0. एंड व्हाट इज द वैल्यू ऑफ दिस? वी ऑलरेडी नो दैट साइन फंक्शन लाइंग बिटवीन -1 and 1. देयरफॉर साइन ऑफ 1 by h, इसका जो लिमिटिंग वैल्यू होगा, ये लिमिटिंग वैल्यू एक फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी होगा. ठीक है, और फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी का लिमिट क्या होता है? फाइनाइट ही होता है. अंडरस्टूड? सो ये कांस्टेंट होगा. साइन 1 by h का वैल्यू शायद सपोज 1 हो सकता है, -1 हो सकता है, या 0 हो सकता है, या हाफ हो सकता है, वट एनीथिंग लाइंग बिटवीन -1 and 1. सो अल्टीमेटली इट इज़ अ फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी, कांस्टेंट क्वांटिटी. एंड फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी का लिमिटिंग वैल्यू क्या होगा? फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी होगा. अल्टीमेटली एक वैल्यू होगा, जैसे 1, हाफ, -1, ऐसा कुछ होगा. So, this particular result is finite quantity. Okay. Now, from here you can say which is equal to, you can write limit h tends to 0 means h tends to 0 इसमें पुट करेंगे तो क्या होगा? 0 हो जाएगा. 0 into finite quantity is very interesting. You already know that if you multiply anything by 0 then it is 0. This is not actually correct. 0 into finite quantity is equal to what? 0. But 0 into infinite quantity is not 0. Infinite के साथ 0 मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, it is an indeterminate form. और इसको हम 0 नहीं कह सकते. अंडरस्टूड? उसको हम निकाल नहीं सकते. We cannot evaluate this particular result. Okay? बट कोई भी फाइनाइट नंबर के साथ 0 मल्टीप्लाई करो तो क्या हो जाएगा? 0 हो जाएगा. तो फाइनली लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट क्या मिला हमें, लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट इज इक्वल टू व्हाट, 0. लेट अस चेक राइट हैंड लिमिट. ओके, लेट अस चेक राइट हैंड लिमिट. तो राइट हैंड लिमिट में क्या होता है हम चेक कर ले. सेम प्रोसेस, दिस इज राइट हैंड लिमिट. लिमिट x tends to 0 plus, again x tends to 0 plus, I want to say x tends to 0 plus means x tends to 0 plus means x is greater than 0 and x greater than 0 का मतलब है x not equal to 0. So same way function will be what, functional value will be what, limit h tends to 0 plus x square sin x, sin 1 by x. Okay, now same process, if I'm sorry, this is x tends to 0 plus means you can take x equal to 0 plus h, where h positive. x tends to 0 होने से h tends to क्या होगा, 0 हो जाएगा. यह सब कुछ आप लोगों को पता है. and which equal to limit h tends to 0 and x square can be replaced by h square, and this is what, sin 1 by h. और थोड़ा सा करें तो आपका क्या होगा, लिमिट h टेंस टू 0 h स्क्वायर इंटू लिमिट h टेंस टू 0 साइन 1 बाई h. सेपरेट करें लिमिट, टू फंक्शन प्रोडक्ट में है तो लिमिट को सेपरेट कर सकता है. तो इसका वैल्यू क्या हो रहा है, 0. इसका वैल्यू क्या है, फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी. फाइनली आप लिख सकते हो दिस इज इक्वल टू 0 इंटू फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी. 0 इंटू फाइनाइट क्वांटिटी इज इक्वल टू 0. तो हमें क्या मिला, राइट हैंड लिमिट इज ऑल्सो 0, लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट इज ऑल्सो 0. नाउ एट x इक्वल टू 0, what is the functional value, f0 equal to 0. Also we observe that f0 is equal to what, 0. So from three results, left and right hand limit 0, left hand limit 0, functional value 0, this means all are equal. So we can conclude that therefore we conclude that left hand limit is equal to right hand limit is equal to what, functional value, and which conclude that the function f is continuous at x equal to 0. Okay, that means finally what we get, that if our domain is the set of real numbers, this is your domain minus infinity to plus infinity, this is 0. Okay, we observe that first this case or that case which is not equal to 0. Okay, which is what, not equal to what, 0. Okay, this part or that part, this part x greater than 0, less than 0, and this part x greater than 0, and दोनों मिला के क्या हुआ, x not equal to 0. For x not equal to 0, function is what, already we have proved that in the first case it is continuous. We take any arbitrary real number c in R, okay, in this domain, and which is non-zero, and in that particular point we have shown that the function is continuous. And now finally only particular point was remaining, and in this particular point also we have shown that the function is continuous. That means this function is continuous at all points in its domain. Okay, you can conclude that the function is a continuous function because it is continuous at every point. Okay, this is the discussion of today's question, and the important thing in this question is that we are using this particular concept, the finite quantity. Why finite? Because sine of 1 by h, sine lying between what, minus 1 and 1, and which is very important. Otherwise if you put h equal to 0 here, then 1 by 0 is undefined. So ये नहीं होता है. That's why the conception is in particular problem this concept is used to solve the particular question. Okay, so very important. If you cannot put h equal to 0, if you put h equal to 0, it will be undefined. Okay, it will be what, undefined, and h tends to 0 means it is not 0, it is approximately 0. So that's why we are taking limit. There is a finite quantity, it is lying between minus and 1, and limit of a finite quantity is what, finite, and finally we get a finite quantity, and 0 into finite is equal to what, 0. Okay, so thank you very much.